Our next speaker this evening, before we break, is a personal favourite of mine, Janice Davies, a lady that has nice in her name. And it's a lady who has been there and done that. She ran away from home when she was 21 to do the big OE. The second time was for freedom at a mere 33 years old, and the third time was for love. Janice is the author of books, participant in the True Happiness DVD, and founder of the International Self-Esteem Day. Janice presents on the essence of empowerment for personal and professional success to audiences from airlines through to childcare. An adventurer at heart, she regularly tours New Zealand with her hot topic workshops on difficult people and workplace attitudes. Not one for setting small goals, her goals include a movie and appearing with Oprah. Janice shares about empowerment, getting results to feel good 24/7. In her new keynote presentation, she will present tonight on how to make the world your oyster. Janice Davies.
I'm going to dedicate this tonight to my dad, and I might have to refer to some notes. Controlling the voice in my head, which I really, really need right now, is my key to my success. Usually, when I ask people if they've got a voice or some words floating around their head, some people put their hand up, and other people, I always wonder, are their ears just painted on? You know, you can gauge an idea of a person by their actions, their clothes, their friends, and their job. And for some people, that's the real person. And maybe that's the real you. But for many people, it isn't. With the internet revolution, statistics now show us how many people are Googling worldwide for words like love, attitude, success, and happiness. Bono from U2 sings, "Sometimes you can't make it on your own." And that's where my work helps people. But first of all, of course, I had to learn how to live and feel good 24/7 myself. One of my defining moments was when I read the card that said, "Make the world your oyster." And kind of like lightning, it made me realize I had to design my life and then set about creating it. I tell my audiences there's 4 ways to feel good. There's chocolate, laughter, sex, and love. And of course, you can imagine they're not all on the agenda tonight. Now, I think people are a little bit like oysters because oysters suck in water and they spit out what they don't want. And our thoughts are the same. Except sometimes we don't spit out the stuff that's no good for us. It just goes round and round. And there's no room for any new ideas. And I also think people and oysters are the same because oysters sometimes create their masterpiece. And they create pearls. And sometimes people create their masterpiece. And they create the true person. But many people get stuck in a rut. Now, I've spent 50 years filtering information. And I can't remember some rubbish, you know, like algebra at school, but who wants to remember that anyway? But I do remember when I was 12 being asked to be in a leadership role and head prefect at Huntley Primary School. And I said yes. And I remember 3 years later to being in another leadership role at Huntley High School. And I said no. You see, somewhere in those 3 years, I'd stopped saying opportunities to learning who was the true person. And it wasn't until 18 years, 19 days, 8 hours, 7 minutes, and 6 seconds later that I started to say yes again. And since that time, I've lived with the freedom to be the real me, to discover the real me. And I calculated if I made 5 mistakes a day, that was 100,000 lessons I've learned about what not to do in life. And so in my work, that's what I share with people. However, remaining positive was my key to success. And I want you to try this little exercise because the concept of positive thinking is quite simple, but it's a little bit tricky to do. I want you to extend your fingers out, your hands in front of you, and I want to focus your eyes on your fingers. And follow my instructions, please. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, I want you to stop your fingernails from growing. Now, fingernail polish is getting quite expensive, so stop your fingernails from growing. Who succeeded? Fantastic. Well, you know, most people don't. It's something that we can't do. We can cut them, we can file them, we can paint them. Well, men mightn't paint them. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. It's the same with our thoughts. We can't stop our thoughts, but we can control them. We can choose whether they're going to be positive or negative, whether our mind's going to be opened or it's going to be closed. And that's my job as an attitude specialist, to teach people how to think. When I was 40, I realised I had nice in my name. I'm a slow learner and a late developer. So I decided that I had to learn to be nice to myself first. And so that was my journey on self-esteem. And that brings me to the millennium, a time of discovery. It started off with me having burnout after 15 years of high stress. So that was an indication it was kind of time to do something new. Now, like you, in the year 2000, put your hands up, were you having thoughts in your head? Yeah, I was too. And what about now? Are you too now having thoughts in your head and words floating around? Yeah. Well, in the year 2000, one day when I was out walking, I thought, I'm either getting stalked or I'm really starting to lose it this time. Because a blueprint for a global movement came floundering into my mind. Now, I remember thinking back then, who do I think I am to be able to create that? Nelson Mandela made famous these words: "Your playing small does not serve the world." So that meant I had to expand my thinking again. And so we've started the International Self-Esteem Day, and we've got some of the people here who are part of the group, the think tank, and we are growing, and we are making a difference. And that's led to another introduction to something, to be involved in the True Happiness DVD. And you know, happiness has been around for centuries, but we had to reformat it for the 21st century. And you know, you used to make somebody happy by just smiling at them. But these days, it's like selling bottled water. We actually have to sell people the concept of happiness. So my work is to teach the people to be happy. I do it from childcare, I do it to corporates, I do it to individuals, I do it to groups. But I work on teaching people about the 100,000 lessons that I've learned, to empower them so that they can do, as Shakespeare wrote, make the world their oyster. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janice. I think what Janice had to say makes her a shining pearl in a necklace of information.